Are you a parent who wants to give your child a financial head start? Well, you are in the right place. Welcome to Beyond PiggyBanks. I'm George, and in each episode we explore simple, practical ways to shape your child's financial future. And the best part, you don't need a financial degree, and you don't need a lot of money to begin. The earlier you act, the bigger their advantage becomes. Let's build their future. In the last episode, we began recruiting our allies. We met time and diversification, and we saw how they protect us, steady us, and quietly work in the background. We realized something powerful. Time is your child's greatest advantage. Time is abundant for them, and when used correctly, it becomes a powerful ally. Today we continue building the engine. Today you'll meet two more allies. Compounding, which is our snowball, and automation, our self-driving mechanism. These are the forces that turn small, consistent actions into something extraordinary. Just like before, these allies are invisible, but relentless. Once activated, they work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They don't take holidays, they don't get tired. And most important, they don't care about the news cycle. Your job as the architect remains simple. Put them in the room and let them get to work. So, your third and incredibly powerful ally is compounding. Compounding strength is directly connected to time. The more time you give it, the more powerful it becomes. I like to think of compounding like a snowball rolling down a mountain. The longer the descent, the more time it has to roll, and the bigger that snowball becomes. Now, the word compounding can sound intimidating. If you look it up, you might find definitions that make it sound complex or even scary. So let's simplify it. In investing, compounding just means earning returns on returns. That's it. Let me give you a more realistic example. Imagine you start with $1,000 and then you add just $50 a month. Nothing dramatic, no major sacrifices, just consistency. Now, let's assume an average annual return of 7%. After 20 years, that small system grows to around $27,000. Out of that, only about $13,000 came from you. The rest, it's not magic. It just came from compounding. Now, here's where it gets interesting. If you stop at 20 years, is good. But if you let it run for 30 years instead, that same system grows to over $60,000. You didn't double your effort, you just gave it more time. That's the snowball effect. At first it moves slowly. Almost nothing happens, but over time it becomes unstoppable. And your child has the longest mountain, so the ball will roll and roll and roll. And here's something most people don't realize. Compounding is not linear. It doesn't grow in a straight line. For a long time, it feels slow, almost disappointing. You look at your account and think, is this even working? But then something changes. There is a moment, an invisible tipping point, where the growth from your past becomes bigger than the money you're adding today. And that's when the snowball takes over. From that point on, your results are driven less by your efforts and more by time. Now, think about what that means for your child. If you start early, they don't just get compounding. They get to reach that tipping point. And once they're there, the engine is no longer dependent on how much you invest. It's driven by what was already built. That's the real power of compounding. It's not just growth, it's also momentum. Now, before you send me an email asking or stating that maybe the 7% is a bit unrealistic and maybe it's just a number that I'm using to keep people interested, and it's a fair question, but the answer is no. In fact, 7% is actually conservative. Let me explain. So, over the past 20 years, the average annual return of the MSCI World Index has been around 8.5. Over the past 10 years, it's been closer to 11. Now, quick clarification because this is important. When I say MSCI World Index, I'm not talking about a company. Think of it as a basket, a collection of hundreds of the largest and most successful companies across developed countries. Companies like Apple, Microsoft, Nestle, Toyota, all grouped together into one single investment. So when we talk about its return, we are not talking about one company doing well. We are talking about the global economy moving forward. Here's the part that really matters. That 20-year period includes the 2008 global financial crisis and the market crash of March 2020 during COVID. Two massive shocks. Two moments when it felt like the world was falling apart. And even with all of that, the average return for the past 20 years is still 8.5%. Amazing, right? So, when we use 7% in our examples, we are not being optimistic, we are being careful. Because as an architect, you don't build plans on hope. No. You build them on margin of error. Your money is working, and then its work starts working too. It's not magic, it's just math. And when you give it time, it becomes a very powerful force. We have now reached our final ally, automation. Once we finish building our engine, we want it to be self-driving as much as possible. Because as parents, we don't have the time or even mental energy to constantly check markets, make adjustments, or second-guess decisions. What we want is simple. We tell the engine which assets we want, how much to allocate to each, how diversified we want to be, and how often we invest. Then the system takes over. This might sound that it's a lot to figure out. And you are not totally wrong. But the beauty is you decide once. After that, automation does the heavy lifting for years, quietly and consistently. In a future episode, we'll dive deeper into which types of assets make sense, how to decide your allocations, and the cadence that fits your life. For now, let's talk about the key feature of automation, which is rebalancing. Different assets grow at different speeds, that's normal. And that's exactly why rebalancing exists. Let's imagine for a second that you have 1,000 Swiss francs to invest. You decide on a simple allocation, 50% in gold and 50% in silver. So you invest 500 Swiss francs in gold and 500 Swiss francs in silver. Simple. Now, a few months later, gold has gone up like 20% and silver has gone up 2%. Your portfolio now looks like 600 Swiss francs in gold and 510 Swiss francs in silver. So without realizing it, your risk has changed. You're no longer 50% in gold and 50% in silver. So rebalancing simply brings things back into proportion. In this case, you'd sell a small amount of gold and you would buy a small amount of silver. I love rebalancing for two reasons. So the first one, that it keeps your risk level aligned with your goals. So whatever you establish as your portfolio, rebalancing ensures that it is kept. Number two, it enforces one of the most important principles in investing, which is buy low, sell high. You're selling what has grown faster, and you're buying what's temporarily lagging, without emotion, without timing, without stress. Now, here's the important part. Most of this can be automated. To invest, you'll typically use something called a broker, which is just a platform, an app, or a website that allows you to buy and hold investments. And depending on your choice, automation may look very different. Some platforms offer full automation. You set your plan once and everything happens automatically. Investing, rebalancing, everything. These are often called robo-advisors. They are simple, hands-off, but usually come with slightly higher fees and less flexibility. Other platforms offer semi-automation. Your investments happen automatically, but once or twice a year you step in, review your portfolio, and approve small adjustments. And this one is where most people are. It gives you control without creating work. And finally, you have platforms without automation. So you invest manually, you rebalance manually, basically you do everything by yourself. Now, this might sound like a big difference, but in practice it's not. Even in a semi-automatic system, you are only spending a few minutes, once or twice a year. That's it. So this is not about constant work. It's about occasional guidance. You build the engine, you let it run, and from time to time, you gently adjust its direction. Automation removes emotion, hesitation, and human inconsistency, and replaces them with discipline. Once your engine is built, automation keeps it running, quietly, steadily, relentlessly for your child's future. And that's the power of a self-driving engine. I'm George, and I'm here because your child deserves the advantage we never had. We're moving beyond hoping for the best and starting to build it. You are the architect of their future, and now you have the blueprint. Subscribe to Beyond PiggyBanks on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen. In the next episode, we'll introduce the forces that can slow down this engine, the ones that interfere with your progress, and how to recognize them so you can stay on track. The clock is ticking. Let's get to work.